So what a game from Lamar Jackson. An absolutely phenomenal performance. A lot of people saying he doesn't have the stats to be an MVP. Well, how about this? Against the Dolphins, who were hopefully trying to be the number 1 seed in the AFC, Lamar decides to be literally perfect. A perfect passer rating of 158.3, 321 yards on 3 incompletions, and 5 touchdowns. What a game. He also ran 6 times for 35 yards. So we talk about stats. How about that game? A lot of people actually had the Dolphins upsetting the Ravens because of the emotional roller coaster of Christmas, which was the Ravens 49ers game. And boy, did the Ravens bounce back with an answer of a total of 56 points. It was absolutely incredible.
Lamar is the MVP.
I would agree with you.
Down.
And the odds actually back that up. He now moves to minus 20,000.
Minus 20,000.
He is basically he's the MVP right now. Crown him right now. What I find shocking is that Christian McCaffrey moves down 4 spots to number 5, and there are 3 spots to number 5, and then Brock Purdy moves up to the number 3 spot. Dak Prescott, I don't know if I would have moved him from off into second place after a very, very close win over the Detroit Lions. I don't know if I would do that, but it looks like based on those odds, Lamar is probably the MVP.
I'm surprised that Josh Allen is number 4. He played crap yesterday.
I think it was 50% completion percentage.
I mean, he had 2 touchdowns, but they were 1 yards, and they were the play where they pick him up and throw him into the end zone.
Brotherly shove.
Yeah.
So
I don't know why he's number 4. He didn't play well yesterday.
Right. So I want to know, did this game say more about the Ravens or more about the Dolphins?
That's a hard question. I already knew what I thought about the Dolphins, that they're really not that good, right? They don't beat the really good teams. I think it said what it said about the Raven is, hey, guess what? We're a Super Bowl contender. And that's what I've thought about them for a while now. I thought that they could get themselves to the Super Bowl. They got to have a ton of confidence now, right? I mean, they beat the Cowboys pretty badly, and they demolished the Dolphins. The Dolphins supposedly have a super duper offense. Well, it didn't show up. Didn't show up yesterday, and their defense is a sieve, right? 56 points allowed. So I don't think they're going very far.
Do you think they'd be one and done?
The Sunday game is going to be really interesting, right? To see who wins the division.
Right.
And it's in Miami, right? The game is in Miami?
The game is, in Miami.
In Miami. So we'll see if Josh Allen really deserves to be up there at number 4 for the MVP role, playing in nice warm weather down there against the Dolphins in a game that if he wins, they win the division. That says a lot.
They're the 2 seed in the AFC as well.
Yeah. So we'll see how he plays on Sunday. That will really tell you whether he's really the elite guy or not.
I'm sure we'll talk about that game on Friday, but for me, this says nothing we didn't already know about the Ravens. This says a lot about the Dolphins, and that's where I agree with you, because what do we know about the Ravens? We knew everything we needed to know after the dominant win over the 49ers. And people can complain.
49ers, right? I said Dallas.
Yeah, people can complain about, this guy was hurt. The Ravens have been banged up for the past 3 years. Stanley can't stay healthy. Morgan Moses, their tackle, can't stay healthy. They're down. They're starting 2 running backs. OBJ has been banged up for the past 3 seasons. They really have not phenomenal. They don't have an AJ Brown. They don't have a Tyreek Hill. They don't have any one of these top receivers. They got a banged up OBJ, Rashad Bateman. They don't really got much. They really don't have much. And yet, what can Lamar do? This is why Lamar deserves to be now minus 20,000 in the MVP odds. And that's just because this game showed us what we need to know about the Ravens, that a lot of the doubters maybe didn't know or refused to know. And that's just this Ravens team is probably, now that we saw them beat up on the 49ers, the most dominant team in the NFL. Their defense this season has been absolutely incredible. And I mentioned this early on in the season. I said, this defense is putting up numbers and putting pressure on teams like the 2000s Ravens defense did. They're right now totally 4th total defense in the league. They're number 1 in points allowed. They don't allow any points. The actual number that they give up is 16.4 points. A little bit more than 2 total touchdowns while scoring the 2nd most points in the league at 29.6. Nearly doubling the amount of points that they give up. So this team is absolutely incredible when it comes to offense and on defense.
Lamar deserves the MVP, and the main reason I think is they brought in an offensive coordinator that could give him a well thought out passing game, and he embraced it. And look how well he's done with it. He's got some decent receivers. I don't think they're all world. I mean, I wouldn't call them all world.
They don't have an A.J. Brown or a Jamar Chase. They don't have any of that.
No, they have OBJ, who is kind of running on one wheel there a little bit because he's had 2 ACLs.
Right.
And they have Trey Flowers, who was a good rookie. What's it?
Zay Flowers.
Zay Flowers, sorry.
He's 5'9". He's flying all over the field. He's on my fantasy team.
He's good.
I said earlier on the year, and we saw this in the preseason, they were building something there. The culture-wise, they were embracing whatever was going on there. Whatever they were trying to build there, we now see the product of that. It's incredible what they've done. Yeah. Zay Flowers is definitely a star.
See what they would be now if they had Mark Andrews out there now?
And that's what I said before the 49er game. It was they were 5.5-point favorites. I said this should be like a 2.5-point this should be maybe 2.5 for the 49ers instead of 5.5 because they didn't have their starting tight end. And Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson have that connection, a very, very close-knit connection there.
Can you imagine what they'd be with him back out there now? I mean, they would.
It'd be incredible.
Would have been a 75-point
I don't know. Hey, they brought in Snoop Huntley. He even scored a touchdown in this game as well. Yeah. 6 passing touchdowns total for the Ravens.
They could have brought in Malik Cunningham, maybe.
I'm sure he would have done something as well because the Dolphins couldn't stop anybody.
Yeah, their defense is. I don't think that. I'd be surprised if they win a playoff game.
Really?
I don't think they'll win one. I think they'll be
that's
they'll
interesting.
be out in the first round. They're not going to be. I think they'll lose on Sunday. If I don't know. I don't think they'll win on Sunday. I really don't.
I think that's going to be a good discussion for Friday's show. Yeah. But when it comes to the Dolphins, there were questions, a lot of respected questions about can this team beat the good teams? When they went out and then they decided, you know what, we're going to try to beat a very, very good team, and then they ended up really not doing that well throughout the season. They lost to the Chiefs, I believe it was in Germany. Then they go up against the Bills earlier on in the year, and they got absolutely smoked by the Bills. But then they go beat up on like the Panthers and the Giants and the Broncos, all teams that were pretty bad. But then you go up against like the Cowboys, they barely beat on a field goal. But then you go up against the Ravens, who are a well-established, proper team, and they're like, no, like the Ravens are here, the Dolphins are like down here. And people are saying, oh, is it because Tyreek Hill? No, I just don't think that this offense against a very, very good pass rush.
Waddle wasn't in there.
Waddle,
but it's not all about offense. I mean, they scored 19 points, okay, but it's their defense that's terrible. 56 points given up.
Yeah.
Their defense has got to be ranked pretty low now after that performance.
Not that much. They're currently 9th in total defense.
Really?
They're 12th in passing defense, 7th in rushing. But however, they're 21st in points allowed. Not good.
Yeah.
They give up a total of 23.1 points a game. So they're about a touchdown separation between how many points they score and how many they give up. So the margin of error is not that big. So if Tua is a half step back, this whole team is maybe 3 steps back because this defense cannot keep up if the offense becomes lackluster. And that's what happened. Tua couldn't get anything done. He didn't have a particularly good game. He had 2 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Part of that is the Ravens' defense. They have a very good defense.
Right. The pass rush is incredible. I mean, this team, we didn't talk about our Super Bowl pick, and I'm sure we will, after next week when the Super wild card weekend comes around again. I think the Ravens will probably be my Super Bowl pick because, like I've mentioned, if you go down the AFC, and now this is reinforced now, I thought Miami, maybe we'll see how they play. So let's go through the playoff team, shall we? Let's start with the AFC East. Miami, we just saw they can't beat the really good and steady teams. Buffalo, up and down and up and down.
Yeah, they've been pretty up in the last 5 or 6 games.
They have momentum, but I still think if Mac Jones was in there, I think the Patriots could have won.
Really?
Because Mac Jones ain't going to throw 3 turnovers. We saw how he played against the Bills.
I'm not so
sure
about that.
We saw how he already played against the Bills.
Well, that was one game. I think if the...
How about this? A competent quarterback, a legitimate starting quarterback.
Well, he didn't have when he's in there, the offense averaged under 20 points a game, and since Zappi's been in there, they've scored at least 20 points every game.
I'll argue this. The running game
I think
also
you could
picked up
argue
as
that
well.
the defense is the thing that let them down, right? That last drive.
You could,
right?
but you also only
They
gave
didn't
up
even
what?
get the ball back. There was still time to get the ball back, and they couldn't get out. They couldn't get off the field.
Okay,
They couldn't get the Buffalo off the field.
Oh, I have this. I won't say up and down. I'll just say Josh Allen is turnover prone. Will you give me that at least?
Yes.
Turnover prone. Let's go with Jacksonville. They don't have a great offensive line. Their defense is definitely suspect.
I don't think they're going
Trevor
anywhere.
Lawrence, now a couple injuries.
He's been really banged up.
He's been
this
banged
year.
up as well. Indianapolis. I don't think Gardner Minshew is going to take you
they're
very,
not
very
gonna
far.
take you that
They've
far.
been a great story, but they're not going to go very far. Kansas City. I don't trust them for the life of me. I think if they go up against a Cleveland or a Baltimore or even a Buffalo, I think they lose. I don't think they have the talent. I don't think they have the consistency. Mahomes is getting very frustrated. Travis Kelce's not the Travis Kelce we've seen for the past 3 years. Would you?
You know why? Because they don't have to cover the wide receivers.
Right.
They can double Travis Kelce, take him out of the game because the other receivers are so inconsistent, drop so many passes, make so many boneheaded mistakes that the other teams know we can single cover these guys. We'll concentrate on Kelce. That's why he hasn't had so many catches.
Right. So I would say that they're not a Super Bowl team in my eyes.
I agree.
I don't think so. And then we get to the interesting team, Cleveland. I don't know what to make of them because we have a 38-year-old quarterback. They lost their starting running back. Their defense has remained pretty consistent. And the offense, Amari Cooper, David Njoku, not bad at all. I really think, and maybe, I'm just blinded by how good, recency bias, whatever the case may be. I think the two most consistent teams in the AFC are Baltimore and Cleveland. And they're both in the same division. Mm-hmm. So when I take a look at this, right, I would have put Miami at the second best in the AFC. After Sunday's performance, I'm now moving Cleveland up. I'm moving Cleveland to number 2 in the AFC because I said that Cleveland's probably the third best team in the AFC. I'm moving them up one spot. But Baltimore is head and shoulders above any other team in the AFC. Most consistent, most dominant, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I think that it's either the Ravens or the Browns that make it to the Super Bowl.
You think Joe Flacco?
I really think so because the reason, and I'm not a Cleveland fan by any stretch, as you know from my comments in them. I think their front office and all of that, it's been a disaster for so long. They made a smart move here picking up Joe Flacco. He has won a Super Bowl. He's played in a lot of playoff games. He can throw that deep ball very well. He's got the wide receivers that can catch it out there, and they have a fantastic defense. So the Ravens have a fantastic defense too. So I really think they're the two best teams. I think the Ravens make it there, but I think the Browns, I don't know how the lineup goes, whether they play before they got to the conference championship or not, depending on the seeds. If the Browns wind up the number 2 seed, then they would have to meet in the conference final, right? I think.
I'm looking up the playoff picture right now. So right now, Ravens are 1, Dolphins are 2, Chiefs are 3, Browns are number 5. Those are the only secured spots because the Jaguars, they're technically the number 4 seed. Indy could overtake them, but right now the Jaguars are number 4. Bills are 6.
Well,
Colts
maybe
are 7.
the Browns can't get to number 2, right? Because they wouldn't win the division. It's going to be a division winner that has it, right?
Correct.
So it's either going to be the Dolphins or the Bills in number 2, probably.
Right.
Probably. Yeah. I would say it's going to be the. We'll talk about that on Friday, but so the Browns could be the best they can do is number 5.
Number 5, which I'm going to say right now they basically have that secured.
Okay, so that means that. Is there a chance that the Browns and the Ravens could meet before they get to the conference championship?
No.
Okay, so
because the Ravens have played the lowest seed.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's the conference championship.
Browns-Ravens conference championship.
I think. You name
the
other teams. The other teams are weak.
That's what
the other teams are weak. Maybe the Bills. Maybe the Bills can get there. I don't know. I mean, they played so up and down all year, and Josh Allen's so turnover prone.
Right.
If he gets all hyped up and his emotions get the better of him, he turns the ball over right and left. So if they get into the playoff game and that happens to him, then I would say their chances of going very far, and they haven't gone that far in the last couple of years anyway. right?
Yeah.
They didn't make it to the conference final last year.
Well, they almost lost to the Skylar Thompson and the Dolphins, and then they got crushed by Joe Burrow and the Bengals.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.